there you have it. Definitely one of the shorter State of the Island speeches, that we've witnessed here at the Guam Congress Hall. Bree, I know you have the recap, so what were some of the takeaways?
Well, first of all, this speech was much different from the inaugural address in a sense that in her first speech, she talked a lot about female empowerment. And so, in this speech, it was like it's time to roll up our sleeves and start to get to work. But just to recap her inaugural address, or not her inaugural address, her State of the Island address, excuse me. She said that our island is in a period of transition, a time of change, and a time of renewal, and that our state of the island is promising. She said that fiscal discipline will be the hallmark of her administration, and she's assembled an effective and highly experienced fiscal discipline team to reignite fiscal responsibility and fairness with regard to the manner in which our government collects taxes. And on that note, she said that tax refunds up to this point, we've already paid out nearly $5 million in tax refunds. We will continue to issue your refunds in a timely manner because these are your taxpayer dollars. And I wanted to talk to you because, we just did a story when it comes to fiscal discipline. We
Right.
just did a story evaluating staffing patterns.
Right, and so, going into this speech, we spoke with the press secretary, of course, Crystal Paco, and she said that fiscal responsibility is always going to be the hallmark of this administration. And it's one of those things that you hear, and, being in the media and doing that story, staffing pattern to staffing pattern comparison, the Leon Guerrero Tenorio's administration's staffing is about $1 million more than Calvo Tenorio's was. So I had to kind of chuckle on the inside when I heard that fiscal responsibility. Ed Byrne, the Director of Department of Administration, who's seen finances under both the last administration and this one, has repeatedly said that our GovGuam finances are on a knife's edge. And I just don't reconcile that very well because if our finances are on a knife's edge, we have the governor asking for a budget that's $10 million more than last fiscal year. It doesn't add up. And then with the deputy directors, obviously the good senators here banned the hiring of or the funding of deputy director positions. Former AG Elizabeth Barrett Anderson said that violated separation of powers. But I felt if we're going to talk about fiscal responsibility, it could have been prudent for the then Governor-elect Lou Leon Guerrero to say, hey, let's put deputy directors off the table. Let's kind of stabilize our finances. But that didn't happen. So fiscal responsibility, unless we're redefining what fiscal responsibility is, I'm a little skeptical.
All right. Well, let's continue on with her speech. And speaking of finances, she did discuss unfunded federal mandates, specifically Compacts of Free Association, which is estimated at $1.4 billion. She talked about earned income tax credit and working with Congressman Michaelson Nicholas, Medicaid benefits, and how Guam stands to lose $61 million of these Medicaid funds that expire in September of this year. She said the bottom line is that we need to be smarter when working with the federal government, and that begins under her watch. On public safety, she said that as we create a more efficient government, stabilize our finances, and begin to experience savings, we are then able to dedicate these additional resources to our priorities. First among them is public safety and dealing with the catastrophic drug problem in Guam. And as you know, I just did that story on the Mandania Drug Task Force and how the Guam Police Department is reorganizing Mandania. All of the other agencies that were initially part of Mandania, from the executive order that was signed by former Governor Eddie Calvo, it brought together agencies or officers from the Department of Corrections, from the airport, from the Port Authority and Customs, and also liaisons with federal law enforcement agencies. But as you heard yesterday, they're no longer partnering up because they've returned to the respective agencies at the request of their respective directors. So now you only have Mandania consisting of police officers within the Special Investigation Section. And so it's interesting to see.
And, you say what you will about the Calvo Tenorio administration, but I personally felt like the Mandania Drug Task Force was one of the bright spots. I mean, these guys were making record busts. And, 4 months into this administration, we're dismantling Mandania. We've legalized marijuana. I think it's a fair statement to question what is this administration's stance on drugs. And if it's a matter of these different agencies, personnel returning those agencies, well, it wouldn't be that hard to ask those agencies if they could get the people back so we can keep busting these large drug importers.
Right, and in the past 2 years, they managed to wipe off almost or a little over $3 million in meth and cocaine. But she did say, though, that they plan on hiring more police officers, more customs officers, more Department of Corrections officers, as well as firefighters. Now, she did speak on recreational marijuana, the new law, and it was really brief. She thanked senators, of course, who voted for it. Of course, that law was authored by Senator Clint Rigel. She said she signed it in the best interest of the people of our island, and that she believes we have to control cannabis use here rather than it having control over us. She said her administration is dedicated to fulfilling all the requirements needed to regulate the cannabis industry and to ensuring that the laws surrounding the safe adult consumption of cannabis remains current and relevant for our island.
Right. I want to go back to the tax refunds because I thought it was kind of funny, and I'm playing devil's advocate, obviously. The governor said in her speech that they want to continue paying tax refunds in a timely manner because there are taxpayer dollars, but actually we're under a court order to pay those tax refunds in a timely manner. Another thing that she said that I kind of had a chuckle was she said the state of our island is promising, and I kind of thought to myself, well, the state of the island is promising because the governor keeps promising a lot of things, but we haven't seen these promises backed up with concrete figures.
She's only been in office for 96 days,
right.
So I'm playing devil's advocate as well. All right, so she did talk about GMH, the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare. As you know, CMS granted the hospital's request for a rebase adjustment, which means that reimbursements will almost double. Now, what she didn't talk about was the issue and concern from CMS on the two outstanding non-compliance issues. I didn't really hear her talk about that. I know that the amended corrective action plan is due to CMS tomorrow, and they also talked about during a hearing at the legislature. But now we do have Senator Will Castro with us. All right, Senator, what did you think of her State of the Island address?
I thought it was very positive. It was. I felt there was a genuine message coming from the Magahaga. She touched on all the key points. She definitely went down the entire roster of the cabinet. I won't be too critical. It's her first speech in her first 100 days. For me personally, I was hoping to see a lot more detail on some of these initiatives, but she did introduce some innovative concepts, and I'm very, very hopeful. What I am also appreciative is the fact that she did not point fingers back at the previous administration for any shortcomings. As a matter of fact, she was very benevolent in highlighting some of the successes of the previous administration. The one call, one click initiative, public housing, the new police precinct. That's good. It shows me a genuine spirit of wanting to cooperate and build upon the past. And so, although she didn't name any of the Republican senators, I look forward to working closely with the administration and my colleagues in the 35th Guam legislature.
All right, well, thank you. I think we have, was there anything new that you heard tonight? I mean,
Well,
obviously she went through a progress report of what every government agency.
I'll definitely give her credit. It's evident that she's hands-on. She's on top of the fiscal state of affairs. For how long and how deep, I don't know, remains to be seen. She mentioned fiscal discipline and austerity and being responsible fiscally at least half a dozen times, and she named some very capable people in that management team. But, should the economy contract, I certainly hope that in collaboration with the Guam legislature, that there's a plan in place to ensure that we can live within our means.
All right, well, thank you so much, Senator Castro.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
And we now have Senator Regine Bisco-Lee. Hi, Regine. How are you? Come on in. So what did you think of Magahaga's speech?
Well, I thought it was really exciting for her first speech. She started off and really focused on finances, because how are we going to pay for all of these things that we want to accomplish? So it's really important that we nail down the finances. I'm really proud of our fiscal team. I think they've done a good job so far of detailing exactly how we're going to get there. And then, she also laid out a bunch of things in terms of education and public safety and health. And, we know that those are always the hallmark things that a governor wants to accomplish. But she was very detailed in a lot of the agencies and exactly what they've already accomplished and what they're looking forward to accomplish. One of the big things that I was super excited to hear about, I know it's kind of silly, But the fact that she won't be cutting off some of our education agencies and limiting allotments to them, like UOG and GCC, which has been done in the past. And so many of them have come to us and said that you guys have done a good job appropriating those funds, but we're just not getting those allotments, and they're choked off and not able to accomplish their goal. And so I think that's really important. We're going to hold her to it. We're going to really work together, but I'm really glad that she took a strong stance, and I really hope that she's able to accomplish that for our community.
So, critics are saying that we're talking about fiscal responsibility, and we got a budget that's $10 million over the last fiscal year budget. So how much of a check and balance is this Democrat supermajority legislature going to be when we get to those budget hearings?
I think it's really important to take a look at the revenue models that they're projecting. Again, her fiscal team has done a really excellent job so far, and we'll also, put our stamp of approval on it. Like you said, we still have all of this time to do budget hearings and really get a grasp on the finances of the government, but also, the revenue, where we just received the budget just a few days ago, so we're still poring over all the details, and as you know, the devil's in the details, and maybe there for sure are some areas where we need to cut, but then maybe that's where she's able to fund all of the police officers that she's talking about, and all of the folks that are going to come in from the port and different things like that. It's really important to be able to nail down those details in terms of the finances, and then absolutely hold her accountable.
It was a different vibe here today. Obviously, you had your battles with the previous administration. So what was the feeling like having a Democrat governor almost preaching to the choir with this Democrat legislature?
Well, I think that our goal and our mission is still the same. We still need to hold each branch accountable, and we'll do that with our budget. We will do that with confirmation hearings of these appointees, and really, I really look at it in terms of the government of Guam is like my family business. Would I hire this person in this role to do a good job? At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And I think, we have an important job to do, and regardless of who's at Adelou, we need to continue to do the job that we were elected to do.
Thank you so much, Senator. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's definitely refreshing to hear Senator Regine Bisco-Lee. One of the takeaways there, she said the devil's in the details. They've got their red pens out, and apparently they're going over that budget. Speaker Tina Muñoz-Barnes, so what do you think of that speech?
Oh, I thought it was incredible. You see our first Magahaga of our island bringing everybody together, talking about the health, safety, and education for our people, but more importantly, bringing in new resources. And this is the first time, Chris, that I felt that bringing all agency heads together, acknowledging the work as oversight chairs within the legislature and the collaboration to come together and just be able to work together for the betterment of our people has brought me a greater appreciation and respect as an island community of seeing where we truly must be. She also talked about the Guam buildup. This is a process that's going to happen by the second quarter of 2025. The Marines will be here. Some say we don't have a say in this, but I think with her bringing up all the partnerships, all the nonprofit organizations, just all the people coming together to talk about what needs to be done, I think that this is very encouraging. It's very promising. She made a lot of commitments, but she continues to work on a lot of them. She talked about cannabis. She got in front of the issue. I've been fighting for medical cannabis for over 5 years for those people who are truly suffering from debilitating health issues. And I want to say, Chris, that I'm really happy that this administration has stepped in front of the issue to make sure that those who are suffering from debilitating health issues will finally get the access to the alternative that they need if they so choose that. I'm very happy to hear that. But also, with the cruise industry and knowing that there's an opportunity that we can tap on based on the information that we've received, it is very encouraging.
Well, Speaker, thank you for your time. I know you got a busy night ahead of you, and we're going to go ahead and get former Senator Tony Yata up here. Thank you so much, Speaker.
Thank you, Chris.
Senator, former Senator Tony Yata, of course, Lieutenant Governor candidate the last election, and in lieu of rates and Oreos inside, we really would appreciate yours in this speech. What were some of the takeaways for you, Senator?
Well, what I liked about the governor's speech is that it's talking about working together. going after what the inequities of the federal government, the Compact Impact, EITC, Medicaid. And I think that's where it got to start, is that getting these revenues, these uncollected revenues also in taxes, and building from there. And I think that's what the governor is doing right now, is building her administration. I look forward to seeing what the next State of the Island is going to be. But it was a good night tonight.
Was there anything in the speech, though, that jumped out at you?
Well, you know, the governor is just building her administration, so I think her working into what needs to be done and what's getting done. She's still under the 100-day mark, so it's just one of those things that she's doing.
So you're going to wait till after 100 days to throw the shade.
Well, that's why I said I'm looking forward to the next State of the Island.
right.
Yeah, but I think you know, it's coming together now as an island, as a people, and moving forward because we're all in it together, and that's what we have to do, is stay in it together so that it's promising for our children and our grandchildren.
You know, I want to go back to the points you brought up about the EITC, the Compact Impact. Are these pipe dreams? Because we've heard this song before. You know, we've sent people to Washington, D.C., we've knocked on Uncle Sam's door, we've asked for Compact Impact
We
funds.
also just saw Congressman Michael Nicholas in the House Financial Services Committee. The U.S. Treasury was there, and he was questioning about that and telling the story of Guam and how it's been unfair because you get paid for we get reimbursement for the child tax credit, but not for EITC.
And we're paying our own war claims.
Yeah. So those are the things that I think that working together we have to move forward with, the administration, the legislature, and congressional. And I think if we have a one voice approach to this effort, that we may get somewhere. We're hopeful.
I got to ask you, as a Republican, how crucial is the Republican Party going to be in kind of maintaining that check and balance, you know, especially since we have a Democrat supermajority here? And are you satisfied with the efforts of the minority in this legislation?
You know what? I tell you, I don't think it's about Republicans and Democrats anymore. I think the legislature needs to do what they have to do, and that's to keep that check and balance with the administration, a Republican administration or a Democrat administration, because that's what the people elected our senators to do, and that's what they need to do, is to keep that check and balance.
Well, thank you so much, Senator.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, Chris Barnett here with our devil's advocate, Sabrina. So I like that, you know, real conciliatory tone from former Senator Tony Ana. You know, we didn't get to ask him what he would have done differently, but he seemed very gracious in saying that, hey, they've only been in office 96 days. And I think that that's kind of been the train of thought with, you know, people in the opposing party, the media. And I think after this 100-day mark passes next week, we're really going to start seeing the rubber meet the road and maybe ramping up efforts to kind of encourage more transparency and accountability.
Right. And you can watch the State of the Island address. We will be rebroadcasting it on KUAM TV 8 and KUAM TV 11 this Saturday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Thanks for watching. Good night.